I'm going to do that.
Oh, not really. Very nice. Our kids do all that.
No, I don't.
Okay, welcome back for the second part of the evening. And the second part of the evening, the big part of the second part of the evening is impromptu speaking. And fortunately tonight we have a member from another club that's going to be leading this session as our table topic master. So welcome, Pedro Casillas.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear the echo? Beautiful echo you've got here. Who are the guests here? So, hands go up. Let's have a look. Okay, who? And the rest of you are all members, right? From this club or other club. So, for the benefit of you guests, we're doing a session called Table Topics. Have you ever attended an interview? Yes? You know they ask you questions and you don't know what the question is going to be before they've asked it? You had that situation? Everyone? This is Table Topics. So I have some questions here, which only I know what the questions are. You don't. And I've got a list of people here I'm going to ask a question. Who likes the difficult questions? Who likes the easy questions? Crikey. Who likes no questions at all? Tough. Now, I'll give you a tip, because it can be incredibly scary doing table topics, but I'm going to try and make it easy for you. Know this. You can always answer any question, no matter what, even if you do not know the answer. When I learned that, then I learned to do table topics. Listen again. You can always answer a question, even if you don't know the answer. Okay? Next, if you feel that you're not sure what you're going to say, don't say anything until you get thought in your head. But look at everyone. David's giving me some ideas. Right? Focus on someone in the room and they'll give you the idea. Right, our first question. The thing I am most proud of. The thing I am most proud of. Curla. Yes. I thought that you hadn't been coming up here enough time, so I thought I'd bring you up here one more time. The thing I'm most proud of, Curla.
Good evening, everyone. The thing I am most proud of, I would say this moment now, to be able to come up in front of all of you. Some of you I know for a couple of months, some of you I've met today for the first time. And if anyone here knows me, I would never have been able to do that for many, many years. So I am very proud of this moment. I'm also proud of Pedro, that I met Pedro a couple of weeks ago. He tried to tell me that's not where I met him, but I'm very proud of that memory because I know exactly where I met you and what our conversation was.
Do tell them.
Oh, it was about Slack, so nothing that interesting. I am also proud of the fact that I am the secretary of the club. That's made me very proud. And some of you who remember when I did my icebreaker knows all the other things I'm proud of in terms of my qualifications that I'm accomplishing, being able to stand in front of everyone. And I may do this again, Pedro,
best meal you've ever eaten, Dennis? Say McDonald's are dead.
Okay. Don't want to offend any vegans that might be in the audience. Obviously, it's going to be creative. So my parents are from Eastern Europe, former Yugoslavia, Bosnia is the region, and it's a tradition to have a spit roast, so you can put a whole lamb or a whole pig on. Growing up, it would be tradition on Christmas and other events, and we'd rotate the spit, all the fat, all the juice would drip off. We'd dip our bread on as that fat is dripping off, and then by the end, when it's time to remove it all, we cut it up into huge pieces of meat, and we share that around with like maybe 20 people, depending on what the event is, and that's probably one of my favourite meals.
If you want to have a barbecue organised, there's a wonderful song from the 1960s. It's called Summer in the City. Do you know the song? In the summer in the city. It's beautiful.
1960.
See, he knows, he knows. What do you like to do when it's summer in the city, Melody?
What do I like to do when it's summer in the city? I was born in December, and I think that really informs my attitude to this sort of weather. I hate it. I'm not the person that complains when it's cold. I like it being cold. I like snuggly hats, snuggly scarves, multiple jumpers. I was renowned at work for wearing more than one dress at all times just to keep me warm and insulate me. Summer weather just doesn't agree with me. I have very low blood pressure. I pass out very easily. We all know how awful tubes are. In fact, I should tell you a story about my husband who recently was on a tube, and a lady he watched sort of faint and pass out and collapse out of the doors of the tube, which is obviously a bit dangerous. And he was one of a couple of people who went to her aid and helped her. He apparently gave her very strict instructions: lie down, get your feet up high. Was asking for water, was doing all the things you're supposed to do. And when she came round, she was like, oh, "Thank you so much. You're a doctor. You must be a doctor. What do you do?" And he's like, I'm a planner and I do project management for the council. And she was like, how do you know exactly what you're supposed to do in this situation? You helped me have this miraculous recovery, and other people were flustered, they didn't know what to do. And he was like, my wife just passes out at every opportunity. And it's true, I do. And that's another reason why this isn't my natural home, because I also live in a slight terminal fear that I will just one day come up and fall over as quick as I've come up onto the stage. So, in answer to your question, I don't like summer in the city. Pretty much don't like summer anywhere, and I'd much rather it snowing. Thank you.
That's what I love about tabletop, is you never know where people are going to go with these answers. Okay, let's try this one out for size. So imagine that you can stand, got the posture, you've got the voice, you've got the gravitas of Barack Obama. How would you sound like, Irina?
Right, thank you.
Take it away, Obama.
I think he doesn't know how much I avoided to be on stage for table topics. And this is actually the first time I'm doing a table topic, so
There you go.
thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
How would I sound? Well, let's say I'll be very professional and persuading people on the environmental stuff. As Obama is very persuasive in his politics stage, I will be very persuasive in what I want in terms of environmental change Today I will stand straight. First of all, I would like to build the confidence from people around me. So they need to trust me. And if they want to trust me, I have to present myself in such a way that they can trust me. And maybe most of us know about the good leaders and their skills and how they achieve that. And if you don't, read some books.
You're actually walking off much taller than you walked on. Seems to work, this idea. Okay. We've got a new Prime Minister today. Yes, you know, Boris. Some may say that Boris is a clown. Rupert, do you agree?
Does anybody know Boris Johnson's nickname?
Bojo.
Now, I have to say, I am a big fan of Bojo. Do I want him to be our Prime Minister? Don't really have any choice anymore, do I? Did you hear the storms last night? Did you see the storms? The lightning?
Phenomenal.
You sleep through?
Yeah.
If that isn't a sign that change is afoot, I don't know what is. I had a big meeting at work today, and actually I wasn't sure whether or not the storms represented work changes or world changes. But things happen in threes, right? Am I a fan of Bojo? Back then, like 5 years ago? Yes. He looks like a clown. I haven't heard his speech at 5 o'clock, but Pedro assures me it's worth listening to, given that you're a Toastmaster. I'm sure we've all seen the caricatures of Trump and Bojo. It's all about the first 100 days. Let's see what happens, and I'm sure there'll be storms at the end of it.
Absolutely.
99 days to
99 days. Oh my goodness, absolutely. So, we have a conflict resolution expert in our midst, I think. So how do you deal with conflict, Simon?
I've got a conflict now. I have a question. I analysed myself, and critiqued myself, and criticised myself. So, should I be schizophrenic? I think that would help. I could be bipolar. One side of me can say, not really interested. I could be super duper manic and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the thing. No. Conflict. The best way to deal with conflict is perhaps stand in the middle, look at both sides, look at their weak points, identify their strengths, and say, couldn't give up. Let them fight it out amongst themselves. Because at the end of the day, if I get no benefit from it, why should I really care about the conflict? Although with the previous question about Boris becoming the Prime Minister, I've got a conflict with that. Because do I sit and just let it happen? Let this SH1T envelop us? Or do I do something about it? Do I fight and do I protest? And I think, no. I'm going to see him dig himself a big, big hole. He's going to fall into it. And I'm going to be the guy with the shovel who's piling that dirt back onto him. And I hope he stays there and he never comes out. And him and his fellow Etonian, privileged, entitled tosspots, who are prepared to spat things up against the wall, get what they deserve. So, I'm not going to be a conflict resolution guy. I'm not going to be a good Samaritan. I'm just going to be that man who goes up to Boris, puts a gun to his head, and says, "To you, mate."
Okay, going really controversial now. Yeah, absolutely. Because Brexit is one of those things that it was in the papers all the time. But I really don't get why is it so controversial. But I have an expert who's going to be able to tell me, aren't you, Seema? Tell me, why is Brexit so controversial?
Thank you. Why is Brexit so controversial? I think we've been hearing about Brexit for God knows how many years now. And the moment Brexit was mentioned, all the organizations that I work with, so I work with a lot of organizations who have to spend with me. First thing they did was freeze their advertising budgets. Okay, and the excuse was, sorry, we can't go ahead with our plans of expansion simply because Brexit is there, so we don't know whether we expand our business in Europe or we go out of Europe or we stick to UK. And with our current, the kind of business we do, we have enough clients. We don't need to communicate any further. For the last 2 years, we've been saying, if you don't connect with your audience, you are never going to have that audience left with you by the time Brexit happens. So you need to do something. Eventually now they have decided, you know what, it's been a long time. Let's start doing something. And then again, Brexit has come back, saying, okay, let's wait till October. Couple of organizations have shut down their business in the meanwhile. So it's a pain. I'm done with Brexit. So whether it happens or not, I think all of us need to get along with our lives and get along with our business. Thank you.
So let's end on a high. Success in life means lots to different people. So tell me, to me, success in life means what? Akrim.
Well, to begin with, I don't know how I'm going to top everyone's amazing speeches, but I'll do my best. So, what I would say, success, the definition of success is different for different people. Like for some people, it could be, an amazing car or an amazing house, or having an amazing job. But for me, I think success is more personal. I think because most of the time is spent, at home, and you want that to be the best place for yourself. So having, an amazing wife and amazing kids is success to me. So yeah.
8 topics, 8 wonderful answers from your wonderful audience. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Pedro, for a very entertaining table topics session. Now, can I ask the timekeeper to come up and give us the times for each of those speakers in that session?
I'll start with myself. I did 1 minute and 18 seconds. Dennis, 50 seconds. Melody, 2 minutes. Irina, 1 minute and 21 seconds. Rupert, 1 minute and 22 seconds. Simon, 1 minute and 56 seconds. Seema, is that correct?
Yeah.
1 minute and 24 seconds. Okay, am I correct?
Yeah.
Sorry, let's get it correctly. 34 seconds. Well done as well.
Okay, so now's our opportunity to consider all those 8 table topic speakers and to vote. So look back to your little slip where you've got the voting opportunity. Think about the person you enjoyed most tonight. Write their name on it and click those forms and we'll tally them up at the end of the evening.
Would you like a recap on the names?
Good, yeah.
The first speaker was Kerala, the thing I'm most proud of. The second speaker was Dennis, what's the best meal he's ever eaten. Melody, Summer in the City. Irina, Barack Obama. Rupa, Boris the Clown. Simon, dealing with conflict. Seema,
Brexit and controversy. And Akrim, success in life.
Okey-doke. So, now we're going to have the opportunity to hear from two evaluators. So we're mixing it up tonight. Instead of having one evaluator for table topics, we're starting to go with two. And we're going to do an odds and evens. So Rob Morrison will lead off with the odds. And Simon Badgum will then go into the evens. So, first up, welcome Rob Morrison.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Trojans, and most welcome guests. Well, actually, first I'm going to start with my summer anecdote. So my summer anecdote is all about swimming. So in my primary school, we had an outdoor swimming pool, and we'd pretty much use it only in the summer, because I think it probably was heated if it was outdoors, so in England you can't use it that much. And, we do use it for, basic primary school swimming lessons, which is, doing a width and eventually doing a length. But pretty much we'd use it on those hot summer days, and the thing that I remember is waking up in the morning with excited anticipation on those warm mornings that we were going to go swimming. And I've managed to do that over the last few days. I've woken up, gone downstairs, been outside, and you can feel that anticipation that it's going to be a hot, sunny day. So there you go, that's my favourite summer anecdote. So, moving on swiftly, looking at the clock. So, first up we had Curla, and I love the way she came up onto the stage with a big smile, looking all around the room. I was sitting over behind Tanuj, and she looked at me, and I felt very included. My one recommendation for Curla was towards the end in her conclusion. She mentioned that she was not feeling very confident or not doing very well. You probably don't need to tell the audience that. We see her as confident and doing well. Just to finish up, I think she had some lovely use of hand gestures, and obviously she tied some humour into the table topic as well, talking about Slack, so overall a wonderful job. Melody was number 3. She came up nicely, she repeated the question, which is always a good table topic approach to buy some time. My one recommendation for Melody is just to come forward. She delivered her table topic from back here. In fact, we've had quite a few people do that, and I think if you come forward, it just gives some more energy, and people think that you're more confident. Overall, it was a hilarious table topic because you weaved in personal anecdotes about the tube and your husband, and lots of humour with you passing out. So that's a fantastic job. Number 5, when Rupa came up and very casually asked questions of the audience around Boris, Bojo, Storms, very nice topical things, which I did really struggle to come up with a recommendation for. I loved her use of big open gestures, which I haven't seen Rupa do before, which I think gave power. I liked her clothes as well. Normally I do like to find a recommendation. Maybe you didn't look at me in the corner enough. Simon, so Simon, lovely use of stage. He's over here one moment, he's back over here the next moment. Recommendation. He launched into his speech when we were still clapping. I couldn't hear what he said at the beginning, so perhaps consider waiting until everyone's given you a report, give a bow, and then go. Nice clothes. I'm running out of time, but anyway, 30 seconds to Seema. Calmly and confidently repeated the question. Felt like we knew what it was going to be. I felt in the middle of a few pauses would have helped. like I'm doing, there were a few bits where I thought you were raising. You asked a question, I thought you could have just waited. Lovely close. That's me done.
Thank you, Rob. Now time for the second table topic evaluator, Simon Vadgum.
My summer memory, it's actually today or tomorrow. 38 degrees, temperature-wise, pretty good. But with Forest becoming PM, we're going to descend into hell and the temperature is going to rise. Just some general comments about tonight's table topics. Generally, I think most people are static this evening. You've got the stage, use it, abuse it, it's yours for up to 2 minutes. Enjoy being the centre of attention. Great that there are no ums and ahs. That's really, really good because most meetings, I think, 1 or 2 sits in. Right, my first critique was of Dennis and his best meal. Hands akimbo. Unusual posture. Okay, I'll accept it. First time on stage. You were static. I felt that detracted from what you had to say because what you had to say was quite interesting once you got going. I felt initially it was a bit like the rabbit in the headlights. You were thinking, my God, I've been called up, what can I say? But as Pedro said, blag, make it up. No one really cares if you ask the question or not. Eye contact, variable. Sometimes it was very good, sometimes I felt you were looking up or looking to the side. Maybe that was just to try and give you some time to think about what you wanted to say, or maybe you thought, I've got to get off here as quickly as possible. But as I've said, no one's going to drag you over the hook, so just use and abuse the time you've got here. Irina, sounds like Obama. Good stalling tactic. Wasting time. I like that. We've all done it at times. And you use it to your benefit. Because it just gives that extra time to think about what you want to say and how you're going to say it. Your open arms posture. I find that's quite a good thing because sometimes it means that you're defenseless and you're looking to the audience for a bit of love and support, which I think is quite good. Although some people might disagree with me and say that means something else. You had quite good movement on stage. Akeem. Never come on stage and the first thing you do is apologise. We don't know you, lie to us, make it up. You've got a good smile, so that will help disarm the audience and make the audience warm to you. You doubt your own ability. Never, ever do that. Never. Because unfortunately what sometimes happens is that people remember that the next time they see you, and you've sort of built yourself into a negative position, so don't do that. Come up on stage, they say, talk rubbish. Give us something we've not heard before. Lie to us. I love people who lie on stage. I think Rob has actually done the donkey's work and has done more evaluations tonight, so I'm going to get off the stage before that mysterious look pulls me off.
Thank you, Simon. And I'm just going to ask the timekeeper to come back up again to give the times for the evaluators tonight, and then we'll have an opportunity to vote.
So we had 2 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, so opportunity to now vote for your favourite evaluator for tonight. There are 4 evaluators. You've just heard their titles. To recap, you've got David, you've got Tanuj, you've got Rob, and you've got Simon. Just put one of those names on the slip and tally up the votes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any more? Sharon, do you
Great. Okay, now is an opportunity to test how much everyone has been listening tonight. So I'm going to ask Irina to come back up as our heart master.
Right. Are we ready? Yes! I'll be the teacher. I will start with the first question. So the first question is, what was the temperature of the hottest day in UK?
Hot.
38.5. Please raise your hand as you cool.
38.5.
So yes, please don't answer, just raise your hand. The first one raises the hand does not have a chance to answer. Next. Who can remember in Cam's speech, she quoted something. Who can remember the quote?
Don't remember the quote. Mary Andrew was the person who wrote that.
Who can remember the quote?
What he gave the quote.
You don't remember what people say, but you always remember how they make you feel.
Good. How many hours is recommended to spend on learning something?
10,000. 10,000.
Yes.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, that's for me.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Right, next one. Who can remember in what company Nisha started her first job as a journalist? You answer that one.
Indian Express.
Yes, thank you. Sorry,
My throwing skills are very good with chocolate.
I think you should come in the centre and get a better reach to
Kam mentioned that her grandmother came in UK in which year? Anyone else?
1960s.
Yes.
Should be fired as a Swede or
You can make some practice for the next time. David evaluated Kam, and he mentioned what Kam should be used to emphasize her points.
Body language, more body gestures.
Yes, what kind of gesture?
Well, I thought faked emotion.
Hand gestures.
Tears.
Using more drama.
Yes, thank you.
here's a second go at it.
You all are right, but not the answer that I'm looking for.
No. Dorothy Liquid.
Right.
What was sweet is it? Keep
That's
going.
good, good. What was the language? No, in what language was the word used by Nisha to describe her Buddhist?
German.
Yeah.
I need to win too.
Wait. Who can remember the first three things that Kerala mentioned that he is proud of, she is proud of? The first three things.
She's present in this room and
Yeah.
she's met Pedro and the fact that she's a role, she has a role in the club.
Tall.
Secretary.
Yeah. You can actually draw someone. Who can remember what is the month? Stop there. Who can remember what month was Melody born?
December.
And the last one.
Oh, sorry,
The
that
last
was
one.
really bad. Yeah.
What is the nickname of Boris Johnson?
Right. Thank you very much, Irina. So we're nearing the end of our evening, and we're very fortunate tonight to have a general evaluator amongst us. It's not every day, it's not every session we have an external member from another club come and evaluate essentially everyone who hasn't been evaluated this evening. So please welcome Seema Menon.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today and thanks for making me feel welcome. When I walked in at around 7 a.m. I had overestimated the time that I would take to reach here, and I was welcomed by Kurla. She heard us talking to the reception out there, finding out where Toastmasters have, and she came out and she said that she's setting up the room and if we want we could wait outside. Very nice of you to overhear us talking and then come and talk to us. Good gesture. Then when we came back at 7:30, 7:15, I think everything was set up, the banners were up, the roller banner was up, there was a buzz in the room, everyone was interacting with each other. Felt good that, in a hot summer evening when mostly everyone would be out with their families in parks or beaches, you had a good turnout today. So it's really good to see that. And I felt very welcome when Rupa and everyone else came and spoke. I think it's a good sign, one of the moments of truth where you make people feel welcome, first impressions. So I had a very good first impression when I walked in. Agenda was ready. And when Craig came up to speak about the session, he gave a very clear theme. So he mentioned about British summer, and all of us knew what the theme was and we had to talk about it. The other thing he mentioned was about the changes in the agenda, the people who were not there. So we knew what to expect. He also shared what is the flow of the evening, so the speeches followed by table topics. Guests who were coming to Toastmasters for the first time knew what it was all about, because all they could see was a sheet of different names, different speeches and timing. So it was explained very well. There was a lot of energy in Craig. He came up when he was introducing each speaker. He had something to add about the speaker or what they were talking about, which was really good because it made us expect more from the speaker. In terms of recommendations, probably I would suggest having the theme of the meeting in your agenda. So everyone could probably see that when they get the agenda and think about the anecdote that they would like to share, because just a handful of people came up here and actually shared, and Rob was one of the person who did mention about the summer anecdote. The other recommendation I would say is probably to to mention that the grammarian was not there. I don't remember that being mentioned. Probably I could have missed that out. There was no grammarian, there was no word of the day. And if at all the GE is not there, he did mention that today we have a GE, but when the GE is not there, probably one of the recommendations would be have an open evaluation. Ask people in the audience to evaluate how did the day go, and probably get into the habit of getting people to evaluate the session. Next, I would like to move on to the two evaluators, speech evaluators. We had David and we had Tanuj. So David was very clear in his evaluation of the first speaker, Cam, where he very clearly explained the positive aspect, and he also gave a clear feedback about how to show emotions, how to make, how to show that sadness when the hairband was broken. So he gave a good, balance of two clear feedback for Cam to work on. David had a good eye contact. He spoke to everyone. He had good hand gestures because he was giving feedback on body language to Cam. In terms of recommendations, I would probably say at a point or two he did refer to her and was speaking to her on a one-to-one basis, which he fixed immediately. So I would recommend that have it as a third person and an open evaluation. But all in all, fantastic use of the stage movement. When you're talking, and not senseless movement, but actually locking eyes with the audience. Second evaluator, Tanuj, gave a good feedback to Nishta, speaking about the Zachman way of evaluation. He spoke about what, how and why. Something new that I learned today. I've always been used to comment, recommend, comment, the Toastmaster template. Again, a recommendation would be to not address Nishta one-to-one, because we felt isolated. We felt it was an evaluation only for Nishta. It would be good to have an open evaluation and a third person. He did give good feedback to her, talking about looking at the floor or looking at how to engage with the audience. Probably one feedback which Tanuj could have given Nishta was about the magic of pause. Rob did highlight that to me in my own table topic speech, where that one needs to include pauses. Probably that's something which he could recommend to Nishta. All in all, it was a good evaluation, and possibly along with the Zachman type of evaluation, Tanuj could have comment, recommend, comment, the sandwich model included, because that was the Toastmasters one, and probably work on that one. The third one is a Toastmaster, table topics master. So Pedro brought in a lot of energy into the session. Everyone was laughing through the table topics. He gave a clear idea of what table topics is all about, especially for the guest, in giving an example of interview. So it clicked with the audience what it is all about. The various topics were quite hilarious. It started off being generic, and then it took a little bit of a political angle. Probably as a recommendation, I would say stay away from politics, because emotions run high, and it can even lead into the next person's topic, as we saw in Simon. And that was not his topic, but as a conflict management person, he brought in the topic of Boju. So that would be the recommendation, but otherwise the energy was high in the club during table topics session. The table topics evaluators, Rob and Simon, I liked the idea, though we didn't have a table topics evaluator in the agenda. It was an impromptu one, and well done to Craig for organizing that. And the odd and even number evaluations, good evaluations. Personally, I love the feedback of Magic of Boss for myself, and probably Rs and Ums would have been another one, but otherwise Rob did give clear one evaluation point for each speaker. Simon was very good in the way he gave evaluation. Again, there was probably with Dennis, he had a one-to-one conversation over there. I would say keep it open to everyone. Good, strong evaluation points, but I somehow felt the energy was very low. I would love to see a little more energy in when that feedback is being shared. That's my feedback. I think I've covered Harp Master, fantastic idea. I'm going to take this back to Harrovians. I think it's a good idea to ensure everyone is listening, and it makes the speakers feel valued for the time and effort they're putting on their speeches.
You'll have to pay us for it.
Yeah. And I will take my consultation fees about some things that I'm going to mention. So a few recommendations. One would be, if there are only 2 speeches, then please do not take a vote, because if you have a winner, the other person knows that they have not got it. I would recommend have voting only if you have 3 or more speakers. So, it's not good. It's not in the Toastmaster spirit. So let's not do that. The second recommendation would be probably have the grammarian involved as a part of the voting. When you're voting for evaluators, get the Harp Master and the grammarian also as part of evaluators, because they are interacting and it's a recognition for the work that they're doing. That's a thought for you to have if you would like to keep that. I think that's it. My time is over, and I enjoyed being here, and I have learned one thing, which I mentioned at the beginning. I learn a new thing in every session, and it's been 5 years, so I've learned a new thing, and I'm going to take it back to Harrovians. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much, Seema, for a very detailed, thorough and helpful evaluation. So that pretty much brings us to the last part of the evening, and this is where I hand over to David. Probably the hottest night I've ever had at Toastmasters. I've been melting as way as I suggested, and I've been standing here watching makeshift fans working all night. But we got there in the end, and it looks like we've got a little bit of time back from the usual 9:30 finish, but I'll hand over to David now for the awards part of the evening.
Okay. Well, we have one award which is dead easy, because you always get a ribbon when you give your icebreaker. So Nisha, here's your icebreaker. Okay, thank you. Okay, and now a drum roll for the best table topics goes to Melody. Thank you. And drum roll for the best evaluator goes to Rob.
Yep.
Excellent. Wonderful. And I completely take on board what Seema says about 2 speeches, and I meant to speak to Craig about that, but we've done a vote, so we're going to go ahead with it. So can I please have a drum roll for the best speaker? It goes to Nisha.
Okay.
Well, I think also won best speaker when she did her first table, when she did her first icebreaker.
Not the icebreaker.
No? First speech. Anyway,
Thank you.
That's it. Stay cool. Tomorrow, if you can, have cold drinks, lots of water, stay out of the sun. It's going to be super hot. Sleep well tonight. It's going to be super hot. And I won't be at the next meeting, so I'll ask Tanuj to step in and take over officiating on that. But I will be here for our 28th of August meeting. The dates have worked out wonderfully this time. Last year I missed 3 meetings. This year I'm only missing 1. So have a wonderful evening, everyone.